Revenge films.
My name is Nancy. My husband and I got married when we were already in our mid-30s, and given my age, I was only able to give birth to one child. We may have wanted more, but even still, we loved our 5-year-old daughter. She was so cute. My husband was also a great person, and I couldn't have been happier with my life as a very happy family of 3. I was working full-time as a nutritionist, and my husband was also working full-time as a division manager at a company. Because we were both working full-time, our lives were pretty hectic on a daily basis. But thanks to that, we had more than enough income in our family. So twice a year, we would go on vacations together as a family, and we would also go out to eat at restaurants fairly regularly. I was really happy with my life, and we didn't have many problems. However, there was just one thing in the back of my mind that was a big concern to me, and that was my little sister's daughter, Jessica. My sister Natalie and her husband had 2 children. They were 2 daughters, and Jessica was the older one. She was 13 years old, and the younger daughter was 10 years old, named Karen. And when it came to those 2 sisters, they certainly were not treated evenly at all. Natalie and her husband were always doting on the younger daughter, Karen, and obsessed with her, completely spoiling her. On the other hand, most of the times they would leave Jessica behind. Objectively speaking, it was true that Karen was prettier, and at 10 years old, she already looked like a model with her face and proportions. Compared to that, Jessica's face was covered in acne, and it wasn't that she was necessarily overweight, but it would be difficult to say that she was anything close to a model. However, Jessica was an extremely kind girl, and she took really great care of our daughter as well. My little sister and I lived about 10 minutes away from each other by car, and because our houses were so close to each other, it was easy to go back and forth. I would get worried about Jessica frequently, and so I often went over to their house to check on her. When I would get to their house, I would see that Karen was dressed in really cute, brand new clothing, but Jessica was always wearing dirty clothes full of stains and holes. Of course, I called my sister out for it many times, but my sister refused to listen to anything I had to say. We felt so sad for Jessica that my husband and I tried to spoil her as much as we could. We would take her out to eat or try to buy things for her. That all changed one day when my sister and her family, excluding Jessica, were walking around town, and apparently Karen was scouted by a talent agency. Of course, my sister and her husband were thrilled by this, and they were on cloud 9 and celebrating.
See, I knew our little girl was the cutest. With this, if she goes into the entertainment industry, she is going to become famous in no time. In the future, she is definitely going to become an idol or an actress, and our futures are going to be set.
Natalie and her husband were ecstatic, but then as soon as all of this happened, my sister came over to my house and started saying the most unimaginable thing to me.
Hey, Nancy, it looks like you seem to like Jessica, so you know what? You can take her. She's all yours.
Excuse me? What are you saying? Jessica isn't something you can just give away. She's not even a dog or a cat. She's your daughter.
Because you got married so late anyway, and you were only able to give birth to 1 kid, right? But you always said that you wanted to have 2 children, didn't you? So this is perfect, isn't it? You're welcome.
What do you think of your own daughter? How can you possibly be trying to throw her away? She's your child.
Because if people find out that Karen has a sister, one that's this fat and ugly, then it's going to completely ruin her career. This is for the sake of Karen's future.
Are you kidding me? Even if you were joking, saying that you're going to give away your child is unthinkable. Natalie, you're crossing a line. I was furious with my sister's outrageous suggestion, but not long after that, my little sister started to ignore her daughter Jessica even more. As the discussion over Karen's future in the entertainment industry progressed, their treatment of Jessica became even worse. My sister said that she didn't want anybody to think of Jessica as being part of their family, and they no longer took Jessica with them anywhere that they went. She was always left at home alone. Every time that happened, I would immediately call my sister and talk some sense into her, but obviously that didn't work and her behavior didn't change. By the time I realized it, I found out that they would leave Jessica with expired store-bought lunchboxes and leave her at home alone while they went out pretending to be a family of 3. That's why every day I was so worried that I would go to my sister's house and I would bring Jessica back to my house while the rest of them were out. Because Jessica loved both me and my daughter, she was always happy when she came over to our place, and my daughter also loved it too. And also, Jessica was really smart, and she started teaching my daughter, who was about to start elementary school, how to write, and also got her ahead in math. As for me, when my sister came home, every single time we would get into a huge war about this, and this became a repeated routine. But then one day, when I went over to my sister's house because I was worried about Jessica, she was at home alone as expected, but looked even more upset than usual. When I asked her where everybody went, she said that the three of them went off to a trip to the agency that was in the heart of the city to sign a contract for Karen, and that they were going to be away for a few days.
I can't believe this.
I immediately took Jessica back to my house, and then when I explained the situation to my husband, he agreed to let Jessica stay at our house until my sister's family came back. When I called my sister, furious, she nonchalantly said that she knew I would take care of her anyway, so she knew that there wouldn't be any problems. I lost it, and I told her to come home immediately. But she answered that Karen wants to tour around the big city, so the three of them were going to go on a vacation for a few days and that they wouldn't be home until after they've enjoyed their trip. I was livid. I wasn't able to do anything in the end, and I was planning on yelling at her when she got home. But a few days went by without hearing a word from my sister, and then, when I finally confirmed that they came home, I took Jessica back to their house. But then my sister turned to Jessica and said,
"How many times do I have to tell you that you don't need to come back here anymore? It was a big mistake that you were born to us. The only daughter that I have is Karen."
She said that to Jessica's face. Of course, that was too much for Jessica to bear, and she crumpled into tears on the spot. When I saw that, I decided,
all right, then I will raise Jessica. Instead of being raised by garbage parents like you, Jessica will be much happier if I raise her properly. Jessica, let's go. We're going home. Yay, finally, thank you. Goodbye, the baggage is gone.
Natalie was celebrating, saying that the baggage that was Jessica was no longer on her shoulders. I couldn't believe it. After that, I brought Jessica back to my house, and I apologized to my husband for making this decision without him, but I told him I didn't regret my decision and asked for his forgiveness. But then my husband went straight over to Jessica and kindly hugged her. He said to her,
"You've done a great job dealing with it until now, but from now on, we are going to be family. For everything that you weren't able to say before, you can always say to us. There's anything that you need or want, tell us, okay?"
And he warmly welcomed her into the family. Jessica was crying as she nodded. From there, we bought Jessica new clothes, and we organized the storage room and made it into a new bedroom for her. Because my sister didn't let Jessica have any proper meals, her skin and her clothes were a disaster. But I used all of the knowledge that I had as a nutritionist, and I made meals for her that were mainly focused on managing her nutrition. And then, because she was still young, her skin that was covered in acne started to smooth out. Also, our family would often go to the sports center together, but when we started taking Jessica with us and she started playing sports, she instantly started to lose weight. Around that time, as for my sister and her family, they didn't even bother to come look at Jessica, and I didn't hear from them once. Because Karen had signed a contract with the talent agency, they packed up and had moved to the big city. But to be honest, I actually thought that that was better, and I was happy about it. Because it was infuriating just to think that those garbage parents were in the same area as us. From there, the days and months passed by, and before I knew it, Jessica had become a college student. Jessica had always been smart and at the top of her class, but apparently it was even more than we had expected. She got into one of the top universities in the world after winning a scholarship from her high school. And not only that, but she graduated at the top of her class. And then, one day while at college, Jessica won the National University Pageant, and that final was being broadcast on national television. But then, to my disbelief, right after that, suddenly my sister, who I hadn't heard from in years, showed up at my door.
I saw it on TV and I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't believe that Jessica has become this beautiful while we were away. And not only that, but that she won the Miss Universe University pageant.
That's right. Your mother and father are so proud of you, Jessica.
So anyway, that's that. So I'm gonna have you return Jessica to us now.
Huh?
What do you mean, huh? Because Jessica is my daughter. We were sad without her all this time, but because I felt sorry for you, Nancy, we let you take care of her until now. And plus, Jessica's going to become a judge in the future, right? Isn't that wonderful?
I couldn't believe my ears, but just as I was about to blow my lid with anger, Jessica stepped in. I'm not your daughter. I don't know who you two people are, so please get out of my house. And she coldly turned her shoulder on them. My little sister started throwing a tantrum and yelling and screaming, but Jessica had already been legally adopted into our family a long time ago. So legally, it was clear that she was our daughter. And even if that wasn't the case, there is no way that we would have ever agreed to give her back to these parents regardless. I already knew that my sister and her husband saw Jessica's success and realized that they missed out. But Jessica wasn't a child anymore, and she was of the age where she can clearly state her opinion. After that, I told my sister that I am not handing Jessica over to them, and that because legally she was already our daughter, if anything were to happen to her, I wouldn't hesitate to call the police and report them immediately. They finally stormed off, looking angry. Take that. On top of all that, I later found out that even though the whole family had packed up their lives and moved into the big city, things didn't go so well for them there. Because there were already multiple other cute children at that agency, Karen didn't stand out anymore. And because her personality was so bad, nobody wanted to support her, and her career ended just like that. Right around that time was when Natalie and her husband saw Jessica on TV winning the pageant. And they must have thought that they would be able to make money off Jessica, and they came crawling back into our hometown. Seriously, both Natalie and her husband were too stupid to bear. After that, Jessica graduated from university with honors. And she was able to make her dream come true of becoming a prosecutor. Jessica became famous around our hometown for being such a beautiful prosecutor. She actually had quite a few talent agencies try to scout her, but she didn't have any interest whatsoever. Instead, she's working really hard at her job. As for my sister and her husband, they completely assumed that their daughter Karen was going to become a star. And I heard that they were spending so recklessly that they were left with quite the massive debt. But that's none of my business, nor do I care. And as for my younger daughter, she also watched Jessica grow up and looked up to her so much that she wants to become a prosecutor too, and she is studying really hard now. Our family is truly so lucky that Jessica became part of our family, and we're a happy family of 4.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.